Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Carlos Gill here with Get Response. Before I get started, I want to personally invite you to connect with me on social media. You can find me at Carlos Gill 83 on Instagram as well as on X. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. You see on the screen here in front of you some of the logos of the brands I've had the honor of working for throughout the years. I've had the pleasure and honor of working at LinkedIn, Winn-Dixie, Save-A-Lot, BMC. In the first half of my career, I spent a good amount of time leading social media marketing for enterprise brands. And most recently, I joined the team at Get Response as their US brand evangelist. Get Response is one of the oldest email marketing service providers in the entire industry. And I was brought onto the team to do exactly what I'm doing here today, which is to teach marketers and businesses on the power of using email marketing. Now, with that being said, today's presentation is unique because I'm going to teach you not only about email marketing, but how you can connect the dots with your social media marketing. So today's presentation is called Future Proof Your Brand Like Beyonce. I'm going to get into this as we go throughout the presentation, but I just want to tee it up by saying that I am a big hip hop fan. I love hip hop music, rap, pop culture in general. And the reason why I use Beyonce as an example for marketers is Beyonce has withstood the test of time over the last 20 years. She's evolved from being a Destiny's Child to being a solo artist, and she's dropped hit after hit after hit. And when you think about the state of marketing today, and you look at brands of yesteryear, like your Sears, your Kmart's, your Toys R Us, the reason why these brands no longer exist today is because they didn't find ways to evolve. They didn't leverage technology. So as a marketer, you need to evolve with your audience, but you also need to evolve with the times, right? So if there's a social network that's not working out for you, you need to cut it out. You need to experiment. You need to explore with what's in, what's hot, what's trending, and see if it fits for your brand. And you also need to find ways to future proof your brand, which is where email marketing comes in. Email marketing gives you a direct line of communication with your audience, whereas social media is fragmented, it's noisy. I'm going to get all into social media and the state of it today. But with social media, you don't own any of the data. It's the rent versus land comparison. Social media, you rent your audience, you rent your reach, you rent access. Email, you own your audience, you own your reach, you own your brand with email. So much of today's presentation is going to be, first of all, email marketing, the power of it, but then also social media marketing, where that ties in, how you can connect the dots between your social media strategy and your email marketing strategy to future proof your brand like Beyonce. So I first want to invite you to hit the reset button on everything that you've been told about social media marketing and selling online. It's antiquated, and all the pre-COVID 5-6 years ago strategies that once worked for your brand, throw them out the window, because we're in a new era. We're in an era where it's highly competitive for attention online. People have very short attention spans. I call this the TikTokification effect on content marketing. And people aren't looking to be sold to, they're looking to be engaged. The reason why people are taking to social media is a form of escapism. It's to connect with friends. It's to see what influencers and celebrities and the sports teams that they follow, what they're posting. It's very, very little about brand marketing and advertising. And I want you to think about your own behaviors as a consumer. When was the last time that you went on social media with the intent of seeing what your favorite brand of all time posted? Think about that for just 1 second. The reality is this: all social networks are not created equally. These social networks have different audiences within them. These social networks have different functionality with them. The way that you use Reddit is very different from how you use TikTok. How you use LinkedIn is very different from how you use Facebook. The audiences, the appeal, the demographics. Now, is there some overlap in these social networks? Yes, absolutely. But the fact remains that you're speaking to different audiences on these platforms, and marketers, they make this mistake where they assume if I post the same piece of content on every social network, I'm just doubling and tripling, quadrupling my reach, and that's not true. Because again, you look at a platform like TikTok or even Instagram, right? People are used to consuming content in like these microdose bite-sized chunks, whereas a platform like YouTube, it appeals to more longer form video content. Facebook is a platform that's become much more intimate, right? So again, I'm just using these examples to align with the message here on the screen. Social networks are not created equally, because as a marketer, the worst thing that you can possibly be doing today is wasting your time by rinsing and repeating the same content on all these platforms. Now, you see here in front of you a couple of notable faces: Jake and Logan Paul, Kim Kardashian. These are all recognizable brands today. Now, you might be saying to yourself, how are these brands? These are people. But guess again, people today are brands. People today have reach. You're not just competing against other brands in your industry, but you're essentially competing for market share and attention online against everyday people, including content creators and influencers. You look at someone like Mr. Beast, right? He's the most famous, most connected YouTuber on the entire planet. Mr. Beast has Feastables, right? Which are chocolate bars that rival Hershey's, right? Kim Kardashian has her own, brand of Skims, right? Which competes essentially with Victoria's Secrets, right? Jake and Logan Paul, they have Prime Energy drink, which competes against Gatorade, right? You have everyday people taking to the internet that are now gaining so much influence and power that through their influence and power, they're able to compete with brands that have been around for decades, right? Like your Gatorades, like your Victoria's Secret, like your Hershey's. And there's no other way to break this down other than the fact that today people are brands, people buy from people, and people want to be engaged, not sold to. So this is a very important thesis that I share in my book, The End of Marketing. In order for you to stand out in this noisy digital ocean that we're in right now, you need to humanize your brand first and foremost by stepping from behind the curtain and operating as a human face and voice and less like a logo. People don't want the logos. You also need to keep in mind that these social networks are not your friends. Platforms like Facebook, which also owns Instagram, platforms like TikTok, LinkedIn, Snapchat, these are all advertising platforms, first and foremost. These are all advertising platforms that are collecting data, they're aggregating data, and then they're reselling that data to advertisers. So if you want to have any shot of standing out and sifting through the noise, there's a couple things that you can do. One, you can just pay to play. You can pay for access, pay for reach, right? That's on the table. And you can be highly effective doing that because these platforms have really good tools to help you identify and connect based on interest or based on demographic data. Okay, so there's that in play. The second play is you can optimize your content to engage and not to sell. The way that you do that is you strip out any sort of call to actions, any sort of mentions that are going to send someone back to your website or invite them to learn more about a product or tell them about a sale. So again, when I say hit the reset button on everything that you know about selling online, it starts with the way your content is written. You need to optimize your content to engage and not to sell. And that's very simple. The way that you do that is by giving upfront value in the form of education, inspiration, or entertainment. One of my favorite movies of all time is the movie Castaway. In the movie Castaway, Tom Hanks is on a deserted island. He spends most of the movie talking to a volleyball. The comparison between Castaway and Tom Hanks and today's state of digital marketing is very simple. We are all the equivalent of Tom Hanks and Castaway. We're essentially talking to ourselves. We need to shift away from the mindset of measuring our wins and losses on visibility to instead measuring our wins and losses based on engagement. Due to algorithms on all these social networks, which limit our reach, we cannot judge the performance of our content based on impressions alone. Instead, we need to start looking at our content on how well it engaged the very small segment of users that are truly engaged with our brand. And I'll break this down for you. Very simple. Whenever you post content on social media, let's just assume that you have 100,000 followers on a platform like Instagram or on Facebook, right? When you post content on these platforms, you're not reaching 100% of that 100,000 follower mark. You're reaching about 1%. So if you have a much smaller following, let's just say you have 1,000 people that follow you on a platform like Instagram, you're reaching 1% of that 1,000, right? You're reaching a very, very small segment. And the reason for that is because these social networks want you to pay to play. So again, there's the algorithm factor, which is limiting your reach. Essentially, what you need to move away from is the Wilson effect of talking to yourself. And you need to go much deeper within your network, right? You need to start paying attention to who's talking about you, who's talking about your industry, who's talking about your competition, and you need to go to them instead of waiting for them to come to you. So many times I see marketers making this mistake where they're investing all this money into creating all these different forms of content. And they put this content out assuming that they're going to have all these people come to them because they deem that's valuable. The market is who determines what's valuable versus what's not. So with that being said, if your content, once again, is optimized to sell, then it's going to have a very, very low net promoter score when it comes to the value in the eyes of the end user. If your content's optimized to engage, meaning you're forming conversation, your posts are framed in a way that's all about the community, it's all about reeling people in, it's open-ended, okay? Now you're creating content that's more inviting. So think about your own activity as a consumer, right? Do you go on social media to see what brands are posting? Do you like being sold to? Do you like being advertised to? The answer is probably no, you don't. So if you don't like to be sold to, I guarantee you, your audience, your followers, your customers, they definitely don't like being sold to. Now let's talk about Blockbuster Video. So I grew up in the 90s, and I grew up in a time where Blockbuster was one of the most iconic brands on the planet. For a 90s kid, there was nothing better than going to Blockbuster on a Friday night and getting a movie and a video game and a tub of popcorn and a 2 liter of soda. Blockbuster, unfortunately, did not evolve with the times, and Blockbuster Video no longer exists. They're no longer the dominant brand that they once were, and they no longer exist as a company. And I see a lot of brands making this mistake because they're rolling the dice on platforms like TikTok. They're rolling the dice on Facebook, on Instagram, and they're not future-proofing their brands. They're not finding ways to leverage these platforms to build and grow their email list. Instead, they're just relying on the limited reach that they get on these platforms. And look, here in the United States, TikTok has already voted, the government's already voted to ban the platform. So it's only a matter of time before TikTok no longer is accessible to content creators and to brands in the US. And when that happens, if you haven't been thinking of email marketing or ways to future-proof your brand, then you will essentially become the next Blockbuster Video. I can't tell you how many content creators throughout the years that I've met that lost everything on social and had to start from ground zero, whether it was Vine going away and then people leaving Vine by no choice of their own and then gravitating onto YouTube and having to rebuild, or even on YouTube, there's many content creators that for one reason or another, they lose their YouTube account, right? They get hacked or they commit a policy violation without realizing it. And there's no customer support that you can go to. And imagine this, imagine you've invested time and money and years and effort into building up a channel, and then that channel goes away and you've got nothing. Right. So I say this because a lot of businesses are putting all their stock into these social networks because they perceive social media to be free. But the cost in this of doing business is you're putting all this weight into a platform that you own nothing. Instead of operating carelessly, you need to start using email marketing. Now, before I provide you with the strategies on how to connect the dots together, I want to preface this by saying, by no means is email marketing new. And I get it. It's viewed as a more of an antiquated system when it comes to digital marketing technologies. But think about this for a moment. Whenever you log into Amazon, any social network, just about anything that you do where you have to log in, what are you logging in with? You're using an email address. Your email address is a key part of your digital DNA, and so it is for your customers, right? Your email address is that one piece of contact information that is channel agnostic. It doesn't matter if I'm emailing you from Hotmail, Yahoo, using GetResponse to send out a newsletter campaign. It doesn't matter what platform you're using. As long as you have an email address, someone can get in contact with you. Unlike social media, where if you follow me on Instagram, I can only engage with you and message you on Instagram. Email breaks down all of those digital barriers. So first and foremost, now you see here kind of a breakdown of what goes into successful email marketing. So let's address this first of all. Relevancy. Your content needs to be optimized to be relevant for your audience. Now, your audience in email is very different from social. In social, you can't segment your audience. So when you post on a platform like Instagram, for example, you're posting to all, right? Email is unique from the standpoint that you can create segments. And the way that you build out segments is very simple. You have your customers, you have your prospects, and then you have your unengaged audience. So like 3 segments you should have at all times. So customers, meaning people that have purchased from your brand, let's just say in the last 12 months. Then you have prospects. So you have customers that open up your content, meaning they open up your emails, they click through, but they don't convert. Okay, those are still prospects because they're paying attention. And then you have your segment, which is, in my opinion, the most critical segment of all of them. You have your segment of unengaged followers, subscribers, users, however you want to label them. It's an unengaged audience. And I say it's the most critical because this is an audience that you should be finding ways to warm up. You can actually warm up your audiences, including your prospects, using social media. That's the beauty of having an email address. You can upload these email addresses into your Facebook Business Manager and you can target through ads. Okay, so relevancy starts with segmenting your audiences out. Then you have personalized content. So the more information that you have on your audience, then you can go much deeper with the relationship and you can send emails that are personalized to that segment. So let's say that you have a customer segment and you have data on what those customers buy. Now you can start tailoring your emails to have content specific for those segments. So I'll give you an example, right? I shop a lot with Nordstrom's. Nordstrom should have years worth of purchase data and activity from me. So they should be able to send me emails targeted based on certain products I'm most likely to buy. I fly American Airlines. I tend to stay at Marriott. These brands have all this data on me as a customer. So the emails I get from them should be very much tailored. And that's personalization. So the more that you know about your customer, the more effective you are able to be with providing content and getting content in their inboxes that's relevant to them. So going back to that relevancy. And then value. Again, value is subjective. What you find valuable versus what I find valuable might not be one and the same. But what I deem as value is content that helps me make better decisions and faster. So value can come in the form of a DIY, a growth hack, a tip. It can come in the sense of an ad, right? So again, going back to the Nordstrom's example, if Nordstrom sent me an email saying, hey, we think you might like this product, and guess what, 75% off, there's a higher likelihood as a customer for me to take a moment, look at the email, maybe visit their website, and then go one step further and purchase versus just spraying and praying. And this is the mistake that most marketers make when it comes to email. They have a large list that's not segmented, and then they're just blasting and trying to cast this wide net over their audience. And then they hope that by casting that wide net, they get a couple of fish. Instead, what you need to do is you need to go much more narrow and you need to go much more deeper with your audience. And then there's actionable content. So actionable content is content that is providing a very direct call to action with a very limited time frame. So again, these all go hand in hand. Relevancy is segmenting your audiences, then sending personalized content that's valuable with an actionable directive within it. That's the framework. Now, how do you marry together social and email? Pay attention to the next few slides because this is going to be a game changer for your business. First of all, your objective going forward from this moment ongoing is converting social media followers to email subscribers. I'm going to repeat that again. Your mission as of now, going forward, is to convert social media followers into email subscribers. It's not to grow likes. It's not to get social media engagement for vanity metric purposes. It is to convert the people that are paying attention to your content on social into email subscribers. What's great about social media is that if you're posting the right content that's optimized to engage and not to sell, people will find you organically. They'll find you through hashtags, they'll find you through searches. These social networks operate very much like search engines. For example, you go on TikTok and you type in a city, for example. And now, because there's so much content that's been created for that city, you're going to have content that appears for that city. Same thing happens on Instagram. If you go on Instagram and you type in, let's say, marketing content or marketing tools, you're going to have content that the algorithm is going to serve up to you. So you can use social media as a powerful discovery tool, but the name of the game here is not to give everything away on social media. It's to have this freemium to premium strategy where you're using social media to post free content that provides education. So you're teaching, whether it's teaching a life hack, teaching a skill, you're inspiring your followers through the services and the products that you deliver to your customers. So this is where customer testimonials, customer stories are very important, but then you're also adding an entertainment component to this. You're using music, you're using emojis, you're using GIFs, you're fun, you're fresh with your content. It's not all about sales, it's not all about business, it's about creating pure emotion. Marketing today is all about psychology. It's all about connecting with people on a very human level and not selling to them, but it's also keeping your content short. Again, I use this term many times, and I said this earlier, TikTokification of content marketing. When you TikTokify your content, what you're essentially doing is you're trimming down your content into like micro doses, if you will, to where your content is just short enough that someone is going to want more, but it's also long enough that they're going to learn something, they're going to walk away with something. The sweet spot when you're creating content today should be between 15 to 30 seconds. I'm talking about video content. If you're creating photo content, like just visual, static photos, that static photo should invoke an emotion that's going to get someone to either read the caption or go straight down to the comments and leave you a comment. Okay. And when someone leaves you a comment, that's good. That's engagement. You engage back, that's more engagement. Now the algorithm, okay, is deeming your post to be relevant to a certain group of audience members. And this is where email comes in. You need to start thinking about your email newsletter as the VIP section for your brand. Just like at a nightclub, okay, the VIP section is where people want to be. Your email newsletter needs to be just that. Your email newsletter needs to pack so much value, so much information that people are going to walk away from it feeling like, wow, I go on social and this is a pretty fun brand to follow, but being in their email list is really where I'm getting value. And there are several brands that are just tapping into this now. I'm going to share with you an example of one here in a moment, but think about creating a daily newsletter where you know your audience better than I. What does your audience want to see or hear from your brand? Let's just assume that you're a travel brand, like again, a Marriott or an American Airlines. Every single day, you could have a daily newsletter that's just a very short digest of what's happening around the world. Or if you're a B2B brand, a short digest of what's happening in the industry that you represent. It doesn't even need to be about your brand. Like that's the beauty of newsletters. You don't have to send out newsletters to have content that are related to your brand. But if you're trying to engage a certain demographic within an industry or a certain type of consumer that follows an industry or of sorts, now you tailor your newsletter for that content to appeal to a specific audience versus your content being tailored just to your brand. Because let's face it, there's only so much that you can share when it comes to your brand and all the amazing things that you're doing. An example that I really want you to study and follow is the Morning Brew. So Morning Brew started off as a newsletter to target marketers, a newsletter about marketing for marketers. That's it. Daily newsletter that goes out, and it goes out to a very specific audience, being marketers, and the content is content for marketers. Campaigns, marketing campaigns specifically, platform updates, anything that marketers need to know to sound a little bit smarter to their bosses and to be a little bit smarter as well. Morning Brew, with 4 million subscribers, was acquired for $75 million by Business Insider in 2020, which just goes to show that there is money to be made in email marketing. So many times we get caught up in this headspace that our emails need to be all about our business, all about our brand, when instead you could create, just like Morning Brew did, an email newsletter that's by your brand, but has nothing to do with your brand other than the fact that it's from your brand with your brand logo somewhere in the email. If you do this, if you follow the playbook of Morning Brew, what you're going to see is people are going to start gravitating to your business. They're going to start gravitating to your brand. They're going to start telling other people about it without you having to do much heavy lifting when it comes to the sales. The other is exclusive content that you only give away to your email newsletter audience. So again, let's kind of break this down, right? I'm a marketer. I leverage my social channels as well as Get Response to post content about marketing, right? You're going to get marketing growth hacks, marketing tips, okay? The good stuff being the exclusive content, I'm going to go ahead and only serve up in an email or in forums like this. Like, for example, if you scan that QR code that you see there on the screen in front of you, it's going to take you to a surprise. It's going to give you a gift, right? That's my gift to you. I say this because today, people want to feel like there's something that's in it for them, right? You're subscribed to a newsletter. It's the VIP section. What's behind the velvet ropes? That is what you have to build up through platforms like social to then convert that social audience over here to want to opt into your newsletter over here. And then your newsletter, okay, becomes where you're giving that value that no one over here is going to get, but then you still want to weave people back to your social media channels because social media is conversational and social media is real time. Now, you don't have to go into email marketing all alone. Think of email marketing automation as your Swiss Army knife, which helps you streamline your efforts and make your life a lot easier and give you a competitive edge. That was a mouthful. Marketing automation is very simple. Think about the role that AI plays in our lives today. AI, through, let's just say, ChatGPT, helps make you write content faster, easier, much more effective, helps you save time, right? There's so many different instances now of how AI is like being woven into the fabric of what we do as marketers. Marketing automation, if there's anything I can tell you that I wish I would have tapped into much earlier in my career as digital marketing, is just that, right? It's automating processes, automating workflows. I'll give you an example of marketing automation in action. When someone opts into your email newsletter, they should immediately receive a welcome email that, first of all, is thanking them for opting in, but more importantly, letting that person know what they can expect and when they can expect it by. So many times brands are getting opt-ins at the register. So for example, the Nordstrom's example that I like to use a lot because I like to shop with them. I don't even know how I got Nordstrom's email newsletter other than the fact that I can imagine that years ago, I was asked at the point of sale, do you want to get your receipt emailed to you? And by saying yes, I consented to receiving emails from Nordstrom's, which is nice, right? And I think a lot of brands do this in order to build up their email newsletter or their loyalty program. They're collecting emails at the point of sale. Customer gets a receipt. They get the receipt, and then they just start getting a barrage of emails thereafter. And that's a mistake that brands make. You need to set up marketing automation workflows. So from the moment that someone opts in, they know what to expect and when to expect it by. That's one. Two, whenever you send out an email campaign, if you don't receive the open rates that you want, well, shame on you for not setting up follow-up reminders, right? Like, even marketing automation in email, there's so many different ways that you can go about it. Like, you need to have not only the segments and the personas set up, but you need to have the whole workflow experiences also set up. So when you send out an email to a group, the people that open but don't click, there's a reminder email that goes to them saying, hey, you opened up our email, but you didn't go to our website to see the amazing thing that we're trying to get in front of you. Hey, like, go check this out. Or the people that didn't open, you send them an email reminder with a new subject line that's a little bit more compelling. Or the people that have just been ignoring you altogether over the last 12 months that aren't opening up your emails. This is where automation can help stay top of mind, right? So once you create your whole newsletter strategy, then you need to create a workflow strategy. So what are all the different steps of the process? And marketing automation can help you do just that. So you see some of the different benefits here in front of you. Marketing automation will help you boost efficiency. So now you can streamline processes for better performance. It's going to help you enhance your engagement because you're going to be able to personalize different automation workflows based on different segments. Also, you can save time, let's face it, to write up a campaign, to go in, to segment audiences. All this takes time. But once you create automation workflows, you can kind of set it and forget it. You can scale seamlessly because now you have these workflows in place. And the nice thing about it is you have integrations with Zapier. So if you use a platform for your email marketing and your marketing automation like GetResponse, the benefit of using GetResponse in combination with Zapier is now with Zapier, you can connect the dots with your GetResponse email marketing platform and these different systems that exist like your Shopify and TikTok and all these other platforms. Zapier kind of connects them all into one. Now, the golden era of marketing, I need to remind you, is over. In today's era of AI, in this noisy digital ecosystem that we're in, if you intend on staying relevant, you need to find ways to adapt and evolve with your audience. And this also means using technology. This means using AI and not running away from it. Look, I have been using social media marketing for the last almost 20 years, right? In 2008, after I lost my job in the banking industry, I turned to social media. I've been able to use social media to not only build a personal brand for myself, but also work with different brands and help them sift through the noise. I wrote the book, The End of Marketing, version 1 in 2019 that came out. And then I followed up with the second version a couple of years after in 2021. The whole premise of The End of Marketing is to teach marketers like you a framework on how to humanize your brand by using some of the different tactics that I've shared here, but more importantly, to get marketers in the mind frame that in order to compete against algorithms, in order to compete with AI, you can't run away from it. Instead, you have to embrace it. And using a human face and voice is the number one way that you're going to be able to rise above the noise. This is moving away from relying on your logos, moving away from relying on your brand, and instead make human faces your brand. I wrote this book and I'm very passionate about it because I firmly believe that going forward, the competitive advantage to every business out there will essentially be to humanize their brand through people. We've already seen this happen with celebrities. We're seeing it happen with influencers. Influencers are making a lot of money hand over fist by implementing the strategies that I share in my book, The End of Marketing. So if you've received any value from this presentation today, please go over to Amazon and get your copy today. So as we wrap up, how do you future-proof your brand like Beyonce? It's very simple. What you see in front of you is the framework that you absolutely need to follow. And it starts with developing a robust email list. And more importantly, continue to refine that list, meaning have the right segments and the right audience to ensure that whenever you send an email, you're not just spraying and praying and sending communications to people that aren't interested. Instead, you're going much deeper with your audience and casting a much smaller net than a wide net. Additionally, leverage data integration. So leverage a platform like Zapier so you can connect your email marketing along with your social media. You can leverage email along with SMS. You can leverage social along with SMS. You need to automate your business and you need to connect the systems that you're using. You need to have a strategy for email, just like you do with social, just like you do with the SMS, but these systems need to be speaking to one another. And don't lose out on the site that you need to be capturing data. These social networks are data aggregation platforms. So instead of continuing to give away content for free, start taking back from the social networks. And you do that one follower at a time by converting them from being followers to subscribers. This goes to my next point, which is creating consistency across channels. If you speak one way on social, speak the same way on email and vice versa. Your content should be fun, it should be inspiring, it should be engaging, it should be educational, it should have an element of entertainment. So you shouldn't just be fun on social and then boring on email. Instead, have a unified voice across channels. The next tip is implement automation and AI tools. Don't run away from AI. You're not going to be able to. AI is here to stay, and AI is going to continue to evolve. Use AI to your advantage so you can move faster and you can be more precise with how you market. Again, think about marketing automation workflows whenever you're using email marketing. Email marketing isn't intended to be just a system where you're sending one email out to a wide audience. Instead, it's intended to be a system that's working for you 24/7, 365. And with automation tools like GetResponse, you can do just that. Encourage cross-channel subscriptions. How you do this is you give value upfront through social. There's a reason why someone should follow you on social, but then you're following up. Think of the VIP section analogy of email marketing. Through email, there's something of value that somebody's going to get. You have to have conversations on both. You monitor and adapt to platform changes. You need to pay attention what's happening with TikTok. You need to pay attention every single time Instagram has an update, Facebook has an update, LinkedIn. Pay attention to what these social networks are rolling out. Look, most recently, Instagram announced that they're going to have a different tiered system for business accounts, business verifications. It started to roll out little by little. In some cases, businesses have to pay anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for that blue check to ensure that their content is being seen. Like, these social networks are being very transparent. On a more micro level, X has now made it to where you have to have a premium account if you want to be able to get reach. You're competing against the algorithms. You're competing against people. The game is not going to change. It's going to continue to get harder, which is why you need to find ways to stand out and rise above the noise. And how you do this is not by posting more content at all. It's by being more strategic with the content that you're sharing and selling less and engaging more. Thank you so much for watching today's presentation. I want to invite you personally to connect with me on LinkedIn, as well as follow me at CarlosGill83 on Instagram and Twitter. And if you have any questions about this presentation, go ahead and drop your questions on Slack. Let's get it.